Between the two of them.
The inside of Coates.
Parker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
It's Wednesday night. It's race night. Welcome along, everybody, to our fifth event of the campaign. Can't believe we're into the second half of our virtual season already. And we are racing at Lime Rock this weekend. Richard John Neal here with Would You Buy a Used Car from This Man? There's a story behind that. Welcome, Reeve Taylor. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And I certainly would. Anyway, I can't sell a car here where we are this evening because we are, of course, in America, which seems a little bit weird, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
It should be good. I vaguely remember, I've never ever commentated on anything at Lime Rock before, but I vaguely remember seeing it on Chasing Classic Cars on Discovery.
Ah, yes.
Like Wayne Carini bringing some cars down here to race. I think it was here. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I'm going to go with yes on that one. Certainly seen a few IMSA stuff here as well. It's a, I'd say.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
And here is the calendar then. We are at the fifth round of this season, over the halfway mark already, and we're on a bit of an American tour at the moment. Round 5, of course, taking part at Lime Rock Park this evening. Then we move a few hundred miles across the continent to Laguna, Seca for round 6 in a week's time. A week after that, we're back over the Atlantic for the Assen TT, and then it's the final round at Virginia International on September the 4th to finish off what has been a very exciting season so far.
Isn't it? I'm enjoying it week by week. Last week was pretty good as well. We had a first-time series winner in Scott Buckner. He was our overall winner, driver of the day, and he had a first and a second to grab the most points on the night. Second was Andy Carroll. He had a podium and a 5th position, so good, strong point scoring there. Amazing to think a 3rd and a 5th could potentially win outright, really, if things go the right or wrong way for other drivers. But 3rd and 5th for Andy Carroll. And then a brace of 4th positions for Craig Curtis. Consistent, either off fastest off the front or the reverse grid race. So he took third overall. So pretty decent round for him. They were at top 3 last week, and they'll get up amongst the virtual silverware again this evening. So where do we stand in terms of the overall championship? It looks like this at the moment. Remember, two rounds have dropped, and it's Eric Axelsen who still leads the table, but only 3 points now, 93 to 90, with Scott Bugner in second place. A little bit of a gap to Craig Curtis in third, but not insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination. He's in the Hyro Motorsport car, and we've got to say well done to Hyro on winning the real world Brit car Clio class at the weekend with a good friend of mine, Maurice Henry, who was driving in that. Rich Hayden will remember Maurice co-commentating with me one time on the COVID mini round that we did, and Maurice, chatting to him last night, he's in fine battle, had his first car championship, so as part of the high road team, Max Coates' team. So well done. Eventually we get on to fourth place, which is Andy Dorman in the Eden Garage Motorsports car. Might be getting some business to repair a recently sold second-hand car, we might hear. Fifth position is Adam Lyle in the Phoenix Camus machine, 65 points, actually tied with Andy Dorman. 1 point down from them, Brad Smith. Then it's Josh Martin and Andy Carroll, both tied on 61. Joel Lask is back with us tonight, looking quick in testing, so we'll see how the ninth place man goes to put himself up the order. Point behind him, wrapping up top 10, is Johnny Ogden earlier on. That was at Donington Park, wasn't it? 11th is Thomas Potter. Thomas has been flying, I think, by the look of it, in the test session. Looks like he's dropped down the order a wee bit from when I looked earlier on. Chris Blakey next from Nathan Smith. Olivia Krasnovska, who had her best 2 outings in this series last weekend. Lee Piercy 15th from Alex Walker. Catherine Potter had a great run as well last week, coming in 10th position of best result race 1, 11th in race 2. So well done to Catherine as well. Alok Iyengar, as we mentioned last week, sadly personal commitments keeping him away. 4 points down from Alex Sam Milner. Then Darren Butler in 20th place, and the championship table wrapped up by John Jones in the Shadowline racing car. He's on 11 points at the moment. Kenny Pressop on 6. Paul Laramie on 5. 3 drivers on a point apiece: Matt Smith, Sam Walton, and Mark Stokes.
And this brings us on to our track diagram. It's an interesting one here at the Lime Rock Park circuit. Most interesting point, I think, is the brilliant corner names that we have here. The ever so literal Americans, where you head, first of all, into the Big Bend, which is, of course, a big bend. Then you head into the first part of the S's, which curves to the left, so they've creatively named it the left-hander, followed immediately by the right-hander. Then there's a part of the track with no name. After that, we have the uphill part, which I'm guessing is going to be going uphill before you run down the back straight, head west down a bend, bit more downhill, and then you're back onto the start-finish straight once again after 1.5 miles of racing. It is quite a short track. It was very, I think, aptly noted as being basically a faster Brands Hatchingy by our producer Rich Hayden there. So I like that analogy there. And in terms of overtaking opportunity, it's going to be slightly limited here this evening. It's a fairly narrow track. The surface isn't perhaps most ideal. It's an older venue, of course, although you've seen plenty of great IMSA races over the years. Turn 1, though, is probably going to be, we're going to be seeing most of the overtaking action on the brakes, perhaps something through the S's as well. So it's going to be a technical track, but one I'm very much looking forward to seeing some good racing on.
Yeah, you've basically stolen all the lines for the hot lap, Reeve. So, but well done. That's absolutely superb. Those, no, not at all. That's great. It proves you've done your homework and you know what you're talking about with the track. I think I've got one nugget which I might be able to add in once we get on to the hot lap. But looking forward to this track immensely, actually. It's one that's built in to the landscape rather than being a Herman Tilke boring Grand Prix track. So natural contours are very much used, and you'll see that. You probably gathered that anyway from what Reeve was telling us about uphill and downhill and round the bend and stuff like that. But we'll have a look at the onboard lap again, courtesy of Eric Axelsen, who has taken the time to wend his way around the circuit. I've been looking forward to this hot lap, I've got to say. I did manage to find a couple of straight names for you. So we're starting off. This is the start-finish straight, also known as the Sam Posey straight. I'm dog sitting at the moment, and the dog arrived just as I was researching names. So no more information on that particular straight. But here we go. We're heading down under the bridge, past the pits, which are on the right-hand side as we look at camera, into turns 1 and 2. Double apex, big bend, they call it in the States. And of course, the Americans, with their ovals, have to have one corner lane 1 and 2. It is double apex. Now we're going around into turn 3, left-hander, as Reeve said. This is the first part of what is collectively called the S's, unsurprisingly, into right-hander, which is turn 4, and then down the not straight Paul Newman straight towards turn 5, which, as you can see, is called uphill. We get a little bit of a brow there. It's a little bit like the back straight at Alton Park, isn't it? So around there, down the back straight, heading down towards West Bend, and then downhill towards turn 7. Once we get through turn 7, which is the diving turn, we're back on the main straight here, the Sam Posey straight, and that takes us to a very short lap, which you can see 51 seconds there. We had a 51.6 by Joel Lask in the practice before this particular one. Between turns 4 and 5, I think I dug out, which is the straight with no name, at some point seems to have been known as the Paul Newman straight. So whether that's now or going back in history or not, I don't know. Doesn't matter, because we're into qualifying. It's Joel Lask who is setting the pace with 5 minutes on the clock. Eric Axelson in P2. Last week's winner, Scott Bugner, is third from Chris Blakey and Adam Lyle. I was going to say Alistair Lyle then, another circuit driver, just to get me other drivers mixed up. Nobody came and said hello at Knockhill. I was up at Knockhill at the weekend, and Olivia did. I don't know whether Olivia did go to Knockhill for the touring cars. I know a lot of my colleagues went to Lochgelly on Saturday night, but I've got to say I thought it was a rubbish meeting, so I didn't bother, particularly as my races didn't finish till about 6 o'clock on Saturday night, so I'd have missed half of the meeting. But that one, I'm afraid Scottish fans didn't float my boat, so I didn't go. Joel Lask fastest at the moment. Eric Axelson and Scott Bugner remain the top 3. We should get plenty of laps on here, and plenty of laps, Reeve, is what they've been doing in testing, isn't it?
Absolutely. They were looking good in testing, looking quite close. Sorry, my words got jumbled up there. Scott Bugner got a bit jumbled up on track as well. But yes, plenty of laps in practice, as you say. And we're seeing some close times. I think it was the top 13 within 0.5 of a second. And so far, we're also seeing in qualifying, the top 3 have already beaten that hot lap that we saw from Eric Axelson just a few moments ago. So times are really starting to fly down now. I think it's going to be competitive at the front end here. We saw Scott Bugner feeling really quite comfortable with the car at the previous round, despite not feeling perhaps the most comfortable with the track. So perhaps he'll be going well here. Likewise, Eric, always on strong form. Perhaps round 4 was the outlier in that, but he seems to be fighting at the top once again. Joel Lask, obviously, returning to race with us, and he's already on fighting form.
I think we need Aaron Lask back as well, not instead of. Obviously didn't do last week, which is a little bit of a pity. We've got new drivers joining us next week. We won't name anybody right now, so we'll have a little bit of a toot and a fanfare for those guys when they come and join us next week. But that's really, really great news. Looking forward to that. Quick look down. We've got green sector for Eric Axelson at the moment. And here is Eric doing the business. Is he going to be able to plant the car on provisional pole position? One of the key things here, of course, being a shorter circuit. A couple of things come out of that. One is that we are likely to see some cars getting lapped in the race, as Rich pointed out to Reeve and myself before we went to air. The other thing is that it's going to be very difficult in terms of qualifying to find clear circuit. I think that's what Eric has timed rather well at the moment. Look at the graphic with the cars shooting around. There isn't that much space, is there?
No, there really isn't. You might think, oh, the back straight looks like it's got a gap. We've got to remember the back straight is only a few seconds here at Lime Rock. So one of the most important elements of qualifying is preparing your stints to perfection. And as you say, it looks like the likes of Eric have done that well. Scott Bugner as well in his own little group. They're heading up. I think that's Thomas Potter behind him. Yeah, it's all about strategy here in qualifying. And speaking of strategy, later in the race, I think we've had word that this high-speed clockwise circuit is going to be quite stressful on the old front left tyre, isn't it? I think we're going to be seeing some tyres giving up fairly early on.
It seems that way. So it's going to be about managing tyres throughout. Only 2 minutes to go. It's probably time for me to start writing names, and then of course the times start to change as soon as I do that. So I'm going to start jotting down the top 8, and that should see some changes amongst the top 2. Eric didn't get provisional pole. He's still in 2 from Scott Bugner. Thomas Potter is in 4th. Chris Blakey running a good 5th position at the moment. That will equal Chris's best last time out at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. He was 5th then, so we're seeing some good qualifying consistency from Chris Blakey at the moment.
Yeah, we're seeing that from everyone as well. Thomas Potter, Scott Bugner, perhaps not improving upon their times, but within hundredths of a second there. And there is the commentator's curse, if ever I have seen it. Apologies, Lee. You should be able to rejoin it safely. There might be a bit of a gap there. It's always difficult to rejoin on a circuit like this, especially in the middle of qualifying. You want to get straight back to it to try and make it round to the start-finish line once again. But on a narrow circuit like this, that opportunity to rejoin safely can be very difficult to come across. It looks like he has been able to rejoin though.
Yeah, that's good. Well, into the last minute now of our qualifying session here. Joel Lask looks like he is going to take his first pole position of the season. Only done 2 events, Joel, so far, and Joel did a 6th and a 10th in the first 2 qualifiers. I've actually written Aaron's qualifying position down in Joel's box on my sheet, so I'm going to have to alter that. But yeah, this is looking pretty good for Joel Lask, and it adds another dimension, doesn't it, to the championship, having another driver coming into the mix. Obviously, Eric kind of dominated the first couple of rounds, and then obviously Scott last weekend. So it just proved, just past the halfway stage, that the championship's still alive. Clock is at 0. We can actually now safely start to write stuff down.
Yes, Eric Axelsen actually conceding from the session early on, so perhaps that's an indicator that he's already focusing a lot more on the race up ahead. We know Eric is fairly good at, in fact, more than fairly good. He's pretty much a master at absolutely nailing, looking after the tyres, making sure the car's ready and race ready and absolutely set up to perfection. So I think he's already thinking about that. As we do have Joel Lask on pole position in this session. Eric Axelsen, P2, as I mentioned. Scott Bugner is still out on track. We're on board with him at the moment. He hasn't made any improvement. In fact, he's just dropped into the pits. He is bringing an end to this session, and we are bringing an end to this session as well. First, though, a message from our sponsors.
Thank you to AGON Pro for their support. Very much appreciate that. As do our top 3 drivers in qualifying. Going to start off with P3, last week's weekend driver of the evening, Scott Bugner. 2 podiums, and putting yourself in that position, Scott, where you could do the same again this week. How was qualifying?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was. I'm not a big fan of this track. It's. I just haven't clicked with it really. But
Okay.
third, I'm quite happy with. I think it's going to be hard to overtake. So, just hoping that Eric can prise the door open from Joel and I can follow him through. That's the plan anyway.
When you have you had any sort of practice races on this one or raced on it before? Because obviously you can do all the lappery to set a time and try and work out your lines and feel where you're comfortable. But is there any opportunity to practice the racing and the overtaking?
Yeah, me and Joel actually did a race run the other day just to see what it was like, and we tried to have a battle and see where we can overtake and where we can't. And I think it both ended up in us both in the barriers, so it'll be nice and interesting. But it always does end up in the barriers of me and Joel because we don't give anything. We just want to take. But no, I think it's just going to be a long race really, and you're just going to have to follow the car in front and sort of gauge where you're quicker and where you're slower and see if you can get a move going. If not, then settle for the points because yeah, it's not going to be an easy one to claw back positions at this track.
No, for sure. And there was comment about the front left tyres obviously taking a little bit of a pounding, and that might happen earlier on. So is there an element of material management required?
Yes and no. I think, I say, me and Joel did a run and we were both kind of around about the same lap times throughout. But yeah, the front left definitely does start to drop after the first sort of 4 or 5 laps, and then it's all about managing it really and going from there. But within, with about 5-6 laps to go, the front left is screaming at you. So and it's very easy to lock up and run wide here. And if you do that, then you've got a nice placed barrier or the grass to go sideways on. So yeah, you don't really want to be doing that.
No, for sure. In terms of your approach to the championship, obviously you're on the drop scores now within 3 points of Eric, and Eric's immediately in front of you. Do you take it race by race? Are you thinking about the championship, or are you just here to enjoy the race and try and beat him in this one and then move on?
You don't want to think about it too early because otherwise that's when you end up making mistakes and doing silly things. So we've always said that points make prizes. So just if we can overtake Eric, then great. If we can't, then we just stay as close as we can to him and take the fight to him later on in the season.
Nice one. Congratulations on third. Hopefully we'll have a chat again later on the podium, mate. Well done, Scott.
Thank you.
So let's go over to Reeve, as second place on the grid, man.
Yes, and that man second on the grid is Eric Axelson, a familiar name at this point. Congratulations, Eric. Front row of the grid. Do you feel like there was anything more you could have done out there?
Thank you, Reeve. No, not really. I mean, Joel was faster than my fastest lap in practice. So yeah, I'm really happy with the lap I did. I don't think I could have gone much faster, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. I mean, to say, second place overall, it's hardly, we're talking massive gaps here, as we alluded to before. It's very fine margins between our top 3 drivers here. So well done to you all for that. Now, I want to ask about Lime Rock Park. It's perhaps not the most traditional touring car venue, although we have seen some touring car action this summer, I believe. I think someone imported a Giulietta WTCR over into America and was testing it at Lime Rock. So how are you finding this car and track combo?
I mean, it's really tough. It's so fast, and it's like only one place where you can overtake, and the rest of the track is like hold on for dear life. It's so hard. It's so tough, and after like 4 or 5 laps, you can feel that tires go off. So I think it will be interesting. It will be so hard.
I like that you're in agreement with Scott there. 4 or 5 laps is what we're saying then is what these tyres are going to be able to do before they start to become a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm finished.
So is this a track outside of touring car that you've got much experience with in sim racing?
No, not really. I think we did like one fun race in it, but that's it. Yeah, it's a fairly new track to me too. But yeah, I think it should be fun.
Yeah, I imagine it will be as well. This race, then, what your thoughts heading into the race after qualifying? Are you maybe making some setup tweaks, or are you just going out there to have fun? What are your feelings?
I think I have my I have my quali setup on, and I think this race will be like more about not making any mistakes, because like single mistake and you like lose so much time, you get behind the train of cars, and it will be so hard to earn that back. So I think that's the plan.
Well, wishing you all the best, Eric. Pleasure talking with you as ever, but we need to have a quick moment, a quick word with our man on pole here with Richard. So thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eve.
Well done, Eric. Good to hear from you. Joel Lask, pole position. Congratulations, Joel. The break seems to have done you good. Is that the secret of the success today?
I'd like to say it is, but I think it's more just practice on the track more than anything. We've done a lot of laps of practice around here.
Yeah.
And yeah, we managed to nail it. And that's at my quickest time yet on there, and we were going for a little bit quicker, but just messed up the last corner. But yeah, definitely Eric is one to watch for, as well as Scott. And we'll see where we go. But like they say, it's a tough one to pass around here, so we'll use that to our advantage.
That's great, and obviously, I mean, no one will put pressure on you, but you're a champion with this club before, so now I guess the time to having time away. I can't remember. Was it holiday? Was it holiday break?
Yeah, it was.
Where did you go, by the way?
Lanzarote, which was very nice. It was a much-needed break.
All right. And what was your feedback to Aaron? Sorry to go totally off piste, but what was the feedback to Aaron on these standing in for you?
To be honest, there was a lot of coaching. Do you want to see? He's quick in himself. He works with sim rigs all the time. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely fast. He was on the pace. I think he got unlucky in the past couple of races. But yeah, now we're back to dominate the grid with a bit of luck.
Yeah, and the only thing is, of course, you can't afford bad rounds now, though, can you? Because you've had your two away.
Yeah, this is it. So practice makes perfect. If we can do well in these the rounds coming up and not make any mistakes, then we should be good. But this is definitely a track where it's going to be difficult to overtake. There's going to be maybe a few crashes just because of how tight the track is and people wanting to make moves. So the idea is to get away at the start and try and avoid all the carnage that's going to come up.
I mean, that's why you go for your pole position, isn't it? So that's going to be a bonus for you if you can get it off the line. I mean, last weekend, like I keep saying weekend, last event, Scott was saying he was worried about getting the car off the line. How's your experience with these of getting them going?
To be fair, I think I've pretty much nailed the launches on these. I did a bit of practice and a bit of testing with them just to try and get them off the line, and yeah, we seem to be doing well so far. But I don't want to jinx it, so we'll see at the start of the race and see where we go.
Okay, we look forward to that. And I'm guessing the fact that we might get some, I don't like using the term back markers, but we're going to get some people that you're going to come up and probably have to deal with. We've got the blue flag protocols that will hopefully be respected, but that doesn't make life overly easy, does it?
I mean, we should be good. We should be good, but I think it's going to be a case of just making sure we don't get in the way of people. So yeah, we'll see where we get on in the race.
Nice one, Joe. We've got less than a minute to go. Sorry, I went on a bit longer than I thought. Great to speak to you. Well done on pole, and good luck for the race, mate.
Cheers, thank you.
So that's our top three interview. And sorry for getting close to race one. I guess it means we get less in terms of a build-up to the race. So Joel, last we heard from there, starts on pole position. Eric Axelsen, Scott Bugner is third. I'm going to be interested to see how they make the run down into turn one, Reeve. Thomas Potter in fourth. Haven't had a chance to talk too much about Thomas just yet. And then row three, Chris Blakey and Adam Lyle. Adam back with us after a break last week. Lighting sequence is very nearly complete. Indeed it is. And we are away. And it's Joel Lask, you can see at the head of the field, getting away well. Good start by Scott Bugner. I tell you what, Scott saying last week he wasn't happy about getting the car off the line, but he's made a really good one there, and he's challenging for P2. He's got that inside run, and I was wondering how that was going to pan out as he goes through Big Ben, the double apex corner, and up into second place. Reeve, that was great stuff from Scott Bugner.
That is a fantastic start there. That is the exact sort of elbows out driving you need at this early stage of the race. This could be that could be the move that makes the race for Scott. Plenty of moves being attempted further back as well. We're on board at the moment with Eric as we see the smoke pluming out the front axle of these cars as that front left already begins to cry under pressure. Here we see Eric having a potential look to see if there's anywhere he can make a Cupra Leon fit around the outside. Not quite yet, though. He's going to have to wait until the end of the lap. Luckily, though, the end of the lap is already here.
And it is lap number 1 under their belt already. And the battle is, as you can see, on for P2 as Eric Axelsen makes the move round the outside. Scott's going to give him room. Eric hasn't quite got the grip there. Still going on for it. They're giving each other room on this very narrow circuit. But great racing here on lap 2. This could well bring Chris Blakey into the mix as well. So Chris will have a look and try and get up onto a potential podium. We've lost Thomas Possum's 4th, wasn't he? But it drops to 7th on the opening lap with Lee Piercy down behind him ahead of Thomas. Now we've got Brad Smith and Adam Lyle in 5th. So that's, I think, name checked. Top 8. Josh Martin in 9th. Andy Dillman wrapping up the top 10.
You can see that as they head up the corner named the uphill, it looks like a proper stomach churner, doesn't it? As they see the cars almost take flight really as they crest that hill. Here we're seeing though a great battle once again. I don't think these two are going to relent at all. They are putting on a fantastic show here. This is a really technical circuit, really tricky track to enjoy some battling with, but they are just about managing to give each other the right amount of room.
Yeah, and you saw from that wonderful shot looking back here from Scott Bugner that just how close Eric Axelsen got. And he judged it perfectly. As far as I could see, there was no jolt, there was no contact on the back, but he got as close as he could. That's exactly what you need to do here to put the pressure on. He's going to the outside run again. Now, that's not to attack, it's to try and get some momentum through the turn, but so many turns here that he's probably not going to be able to get a run onto the next corner. This is, I don't know, do you know what, almost akin to short circuit racing to me, quarter-mile oval racing. Obviously, it's a mile and a half circuit. So, Americans like their oval racing. Here we go, here's the move now from 4th place. Chris Blakey having a look around the outside. And again, Eric giving him room. They're all doing some real respectful racing here. I've got to say, probably dreading the reverse grid bit after the carnage we had on turn 1 at Nurburgring last week. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But that, of course, is well over 20 minutes of this race away, plus our interview. So very much focus on this. But this is all playing into Joel Lask's hands, isn't it? Joel is out and away. No bother behind him. Clear circuit in front of him at the moment. You can see from the track graphic down towards the sort of lower centre left-hand side of the screen that still plenty of time for Joel to circulate, put in his qualifying type laps before he gets into any back marker traffic.
Here we go, Chris Blakey down the inside. Once more, can he make it stick? They are side by side, but hanging it around the outside there. Eric Axelsen with the slightly higher speed has just been able to keep a nose out in front and defends the position for now. As you say, Joel Lask is able to pretty much walk away with it at this stage as a result of all this fantastic action we are party to. I did also notice at the start of the race, a little detail I haven't noticed yet so far this season. The back of Joel Lask's car, it says, "Give me a bump," which if any of his fellow competitors do end up colliding with him, they can simply argue that he'd asked.
That's a good spot. I hadn't seen that. I was going to have a word with, and a little moment on the grass for Eric Axelsen there. Does that lose him enough? No, it doesn't lose him enough speed or momentum to cede 3rd position to Chris Blakey, who is right there and keen to come up. Yeah, in terms of the spots, when we had Eric's car in Parc Ferme or Victory Lane, call it what you will, last week, I noticed he had a Colgate graphic on the car, and I was going to ask him about that. I was going to say it was the Colgate Nurburgring Ring of Confidence last week. Oh, right, okay.
We're on board at the moment with Alex Walker, running in P10 at the moment. Had a great run out in the reverse grid race last time around. Currently putting the pressure on Olivia, fighting for P9. We're seeing some strong drivers in the midfield at the moment.
Yeah, Olivia's had a very good start, hasn't she? Olivia Krasnowska qualified in 16th and is up into 9th place. That's pretty mega, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a few drivers have had a very pleasant start to this race so far. I was worried actually with how technical the circuit was it going to be a little bit of trepidation perhaps at the start of this race, but it doesn't seem to be. I think everyone's enjoying their battling.
I wonder if that's Olivia's short circuit experience. I'd be interested to know that. But short circuit drivers to
we've had a bit of sympathy off there, I think, haven't we? We've seen two Leon Cupras heading off at the same time for the same reason, pretty much. It's unavoidable sometimes, isn't it?
It's going to be that way, isn't it? So Olivia now up into 9th position as Alex Walker comes under pressure from Johnny Ogden. Johnny is going to try the outside run side by side again, giving each other room, which is really good to see. Johnny Ogden gets the move done up into 11th place. Alex Walker down into 12th. Lee Piercy, one of the drivers that's fallen back. Catherine Potter is in 14th place at the moment, which is consistent to where she started. She's going to be a little bit gutted that Olivia's ahead in the, again, unofficial Coupe des Dames. Nice to see Nathan Smith back with us again as well. So Nathan up in 7th place at the moment, ahead of Josh Martin. So Nathan Smith busy chasing Andy Dorman right now. Good battle between those two.
Yeah, we are on board with these two at the moment, who are, I should add, they're not that far behind the leaders of this race, perhaps as I was expecting. I thought, you know, with, as we said, there's a bit of a pace. Oh, as we have down the inside there, Nathan, nice move. And he make it stick, though. There's going to be Andy Dorman fighting for it back in just a moment, I suspect. It's a start-finish straight, one of the prime overtaking opportunities of the circuit. But we're going to go on board with Andy now inside the car. He's going for the outside, is Andy. It's going to be Nathan on the inside. Who's going to be last at the late breakers here? Who can get that nose out in front? Might have stolen a quote off another commentator, but we'll roll with it anyway.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with borrowing the odd phrase here and there. As this trio now with Josh Martin coming up to join in, looks on the inside. Does Martin outside and sweep around to make the place? Josh Martin up into P7. Great move from him. I was about to say, you know, Josh last week was very quiet at the Nurburgring and had a 5th and a 12th. So he was, you know, quick at the, towards the sharp end of the first race, the fastest off the front race, and suffered a little bit in the other one. Talking about reverse grids, it's Alex Walker at the moment in 12th place with Johnny Ogden 11th. It'll be those two provisionally at the moment on pole position on the front row for the reverse grid race. But we're 16 minutes away from that. And any of you that have watched our racing before will know that plenty can and probably will change in the time that we've got left.
Absolutely, as we're seeing Thomas Potter and Olivia side by side here. Thomas Potter wins out in the end, but not without a good fight. This is a bit of a recovery drive for Thomas, is this early race incidents. Back up into P9. Where can he finish? We know he's got some good pace underneath him. He always has pretty much at every venue he visits. He's perhaps a couple tenths off the leaders of this race at the moment, but still very much in the mix and potentially gaining a few more positions as we head further into this race.
Let's say this is a little bit of deja vu, isn't it, for Olivia, because she's very much used to having a Potter around her. It's Catherine Potter usually, but now she finds herself trying to hunt down the teapot. And either way, I say really good stuff from Olivia. 10th place at the moment, so really good progression. That potentially will equal her best result last time, 11th and 10th last time, so very, very consistent. And, well, okay, Johnny Ogden goes through as well. So Johnny up into 10th place. Liva Krasnovska is in 11th now. This is the view back from Chris Blakey looking at Adam Lyle. Welcome back, Adam, who's chasing hard, trying to get up towards 4th place. And then, of course, the next target is the black and green Eric Axelson car, completing the podium at the moment. First, second and third relatively settled as we edge our way towards the halfway stage of this race, with Joel Lass 2.8 seconds clear, and he will start to see some of the drivers at the tail end of the field, like of John Jones, Catherine Potter, Sam Milner, in his sights. He'll certainly be seeing them probably on the, as he enters the main straight, the Sam Posey straight, the main straight here. And that will give him a target to try and close down on. So far he's been working with clear track, but he'll be having a good look as we ride on board with Nathan Smith. Smith busy chasing Josh Martin right now.
Yeah, Andy Dorman in the mix there as well. We saw them heading 3 wide into the first corner. I looked at that and thought, this is going to be brave. This might not end very well. And there was certainly some denting and some trading of paint, but overall, they lived to tell the tale and lived to the end of the lap here. So I imagine we're going to be seeing a similar thing in just a moment as we have Andy Dorman using all of the track and then some in order to try and find a way past Nathan Smith here, as there we see Andy having a look down the inside, but on the defense is Nathan Smith. Actually, has he left the door open? Yes, he has. There's contact between the two. Don't manage to go off the circuit somehow, and we continue on. It's a good run on the exit of the first corner for Nathan Smith, but he can't get past Andy Dorman. This is getting a little bit feisty between these two white and blue cars here, and this is allowing Josh Martin to have a little bit of a breather and catch up to Adam Lyle.
It is lovely bit of racing. Any little tap like that will get looked at, and the decisions we made on Monday night. I've got to say the judicial list was, I thought, surprisingly short given the amount of on-track action that we saw at Nurburgring GP last week. But the battle continuing here. Believe it or not, the circuit owners here have had battles over the year. We look at the surroundings, and you know how good the reproductions of the circuits are in terms not just the track but the outsides of the track as well, the habitat and everything where it's built. Believe it or not, they had to fight off a threat from developers to keep this track going a couple of seasons ago. I think when it was owned by the Skip Barber team, Skip's lot decided to move. It is actually a consortium that the track now sort of effectively owns itself, but they managed to win that fight. So, you know, the Americans with a track in the middle of nowhere still have to deal with developers, which is really sad to have to think about as we catch up with Olivia Krasnowska, busy chasing Lee Piercy. So Piercy's got himself into 11th. Olivia is in 12th. Alex Walker now chasing Olivia, who is again in a good consistent run and potentially on for front row in the reverse grid.
Yes, absolutely. Perhaps a bit of an instant for Alex Walker. Seems to have dropped down a couple of positions from a few laps ago. But as you say, it's good to see another track survive another day, really. I likened it a bit to almost what Buckmore had a few years back, if you remember, where it was looking pretty much said and done, wasn't it? And I'm very pleased to, to be able to still visit that venue. Yeah,
too easy to lose, too difficult to open or even reopen in the case of Rockingham, which we hope to be back at some stage if someone can find the clout to get it going again. Andy Dorman's trying to find some clout at the moment to close down on Josh Martin. Martin in P6 immediately ahead of us, and you can see Adam Lyle not that far in front of Josh. So Josh having a decent race of this at the moment. 3 seconds the gap, by the way, last to Bugner. Eric Axelson still in third, and this is the move. Andy Dorman down the inside. Lovely move by Andy Dorman to move through ahead of Josh Martin into 6th place. Martin goes slightly wider into this corner, gets more momentum, looks at the outside, runs over the curbs, all over the back of Dorman to try and get back. Great news for Adam Lyle immediately in front. Whilst these two are squabbling, he will just use that opportunity to focus on his own line and maybe move away, possibly close it on Chris Blakey in 4th place. Good stuff though, really good racing. No evidence of any major tyre problems at the moment, but we're well into the second half of the race and just under 11 minutes to go.
Yep, fantastic bit of driving there from Andy Dorman. And as you say, the tyres, I can imagine they're not holding up quite as well, but I think everyone's suffering the same issue. So we're seeing, well, I was going to say we are seeing a little bit of a drop in time. We're in the mid-52s, perhaps 53s, compared to where we were in qualifying or practice. But I think everyone's suffering the same issue. Everyone's suffering the same fate, really. So the racing's still very much on as a result. Interesting, Andy Dorman's fastest lap time so far in the race is actually ever so slightly slower than Josh Martin's. So perhaps we're getting to a phase of the race where we're seeing a little bit of difference in tyres. Overall, everyone seems to be fairly comfortable on the tread that they've got, as we once again rise over the hill as we head into the final 10 minutes of this exciting first race of the week. Well, I said weekend.
There's Olivia Krasnowska. She had an incident flashed up on screen, had a crash. She's dropped back, and that is Andy Carroll now busy chasing her. Alex Walker ahead. So Olivia actually back where she qualified in 14. No, she qualified 16. She's still 2 places ahead of where she was. Catherine Potter still behind her. So Alex Walker. Olivia's now just made up another place. Great stuff from Olivia through on the inside, but runs wide, and the cutback is going to happen for Alex Walker.
Oh, contact there between Olivia and Andy Carroll there. Alex Walker, as you say, the door was slightly left open. He immediately sees the opportunity, has managed to break away from this squabble going on behind now. And this could be a little bit troublesome for Olivia. As you say, she was looking really quite strong at one point in this race. Is still looking strong, but you don't really want to be in the midst of battles like this at this phase of the race, really. You want to be trying to think about bringing the car home at this point, and instead, Olivia's going to have to work for a few more points.
Andy's a handy peddler, isn't he? I mean, let's be honest, he was on the podium of the fastest off the front race 1, last time out. So Olivia knows she's battling with someone who's put it on the podium from being at the front, and that's good for her. Looking down the inside in the 899 car. Oh, and a little bit of contact there. 6 of one and half a dozen the other, in my opinion, that one. And Olivia manages to close in on Alex Walker as well. I think Olivia's struggling with the tyres.
Yeah, tyres or perhaps a little bit of damage picked up there. Contact once again. Craig Curtis as well. Now, that's not ideal. I was talking about bringing the car home, and now it looks to be that the car's going to be slightly wounded as it comes home. I'm seeing, I wasn't quite expecting to have so much oversteer, lift-off oversteer from these cars. I mean, I suppose they are touring cars. At the end of the day, the back end will get a little bit squirrely, but I thought that this track, if anything, would promote a bit of understeer, but we're seeing perhaps the opposite of that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It looks that way as we catch up with Johnny Ogden dicing with Lee Pearcey. Lee puts a couple of wheels off onto the dirt, and we'll try and get this 10th position back. So it's Johnny Ogden in P10, the Late Night Coffee Company car. Still haven't tried any of that. I have to try some product when we catch up with him. Thomas Potter in 9th ahead of them. Nathan Smith in 8th. Josh Martin 7th, still down behind Andy Dorman. Lovely shot of that rise there. That bit reminds me of, I said Hilltop at Alton Park, but also the climb that you get at Cadwell when you go up the hill at Cadwell Park.
Just,
yeah,
I can come in here, guys. I'm live. Just on that question with regards to the rear end of the car, you've got 3 different widths of anti-roll bar for this car that you can use, and within that you've got a soft, medium and hard in each one. Oh, going off the track. Also, some of the guys are running quite a high rake on the car as well, so if they've got a really stiff rear anti-roll bar and quite a lot of rake, that is promoting some oversteer, so that's probably what you're seeing there.
Thank you for your wisdom, Rich, there. And that does stand to reason. Fellow Alfa Romeo Mito Quadrifoglio owners will understand that of having the highly raked car with the stiff rear end does promote some rather scary moments sometimes. But Lee Pearcey's recovered from his scary moment as we go on board with Chris Blakey. Has been on the cusp of the podium for a little while. Eric dropped back out of the fight earlier on, hasn't been able to recover, and could potentially be under threat now.
Yeah, Chris Blakey is closing in. I mean, closing in's one thing, but actually making the pass could well be another. Eric Axelson, not an easy driver to pass for sure. So 1 and 2 looking settled. 3rd perhaps will be an issue before the end. 5 minutes on this one remaining. Quick look down the order. Brad Smith 12th at the moment, so that would be a handy start for him for the second race. I'm wondering if drivers think, oh yeah, is it a good idea if I'm running around about 9th, maybe drop back and get pole position on a track like this where overtaking is a premium, particularly if you can get away on the front. There might be some race tactics involved. We'll see whether any of them do maybe back off to perhaps secure that position nearer the front. But at the moment, it's Brad Smith and Lee Pearcey on the front. And you get that scenario, Reeve, where I look at this, reverse grid race-wise, as we've got a good battle going on here with Smith coming under big pressure at the moment from the teapot. Let's see whether Thomas can do anything about it.
He is carrying damage, is Thomas Potter. We've heard from our stream audience. Hello to all of you watching on YouTube. We are getting reports that Thomas has damage as well, rather.
Right, that's a shame. Going back to the point, say that really you look at actually pretty much anyone on the grid in a reverse grid race, you would fancy them for a win. I don't think there's anybody on there that isn't capable of doing it. I mean, if you remember the reverse grid where we had Olivia and Catherine held their own more than capably for many, many laps off the front before, it would not surprise me if any one of the drivers on the grid was able to take a reverse grid race winning this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, it could almost be a tactical thing here where overtaking is difficult if you want to find yourself in that magic P12 spot, because it's certainly on the cards. As you say, we're on board at the moment with Andy Carroll fighting Alex Walker. Alex dropping off perhaps ever so slightly towards the end of this race. The tyres potentially for a couple of drivers now becoming a bit of an issue in these final few dying moments. I can imagine they are not fun to drive. I mean, as I mentioned earlier in the season, I've got history of murdering front tyres in Leon Cupras, and I would not be able to make the tyres last as long as all of our drivers here are this evening.
I'm sure you'd do very well, because if you came into the race, you'd be thinking about that, and that's what we got. Leaders beginning to get into traffic, so the last couple of laps could prove crucial for the leaders in terms of traffic. Well, I thought we were going to get back marker traffic earlier than we have done here, but we've still got a gap between the last few runners and the race leader. Talking of which, here is Joel Last looking to grab a first win of the campaign. Remember, Joel was only with us in person for the first two rounds. Had two podiums though. Podium in the opening race of the season at Pascani, and then had another podium in the reverse grid race at Barcelona. So, you know, making up for bad fortunes in race number one. Here's Eric Axelson and Chris Blakey, not that far away at the moment from a wee bit of traffic that they're beginning to close up on.
Yeah, that's another point as well. When you eliminate the lap traffic in general becomes no longer a concern. Traffic can often become a bit of a danger point, really, at some points of the track. It's all well and good trying. I see the back end step out once again on Josh Martin's car. It's almost like Formula Drift here. I think we should have a certain copyrighted piece of music from an old film. But it becomes another element of racing that you have to think about when you've got all those perhaps slower cars or cars that are being waved blue flags. But we haven't had that concern so far this evening. I suspect if there is any point, I don't want this to be the case, it will be race 2, the reverse grid race, when I think there could be a little bit of contact as we head into the first part of this lap.
A little bit of contact.
I don't want... Again, I'm hoping that isn't the case. That whether you mean that I'm asking for big contact or I'm asking for no contact is up to your interpretation, but...
A melee, probably. A melee. We'll see. Joel Last then with 1 minute 25 on the clock, looking very good here. This was all about the pole position for him. He hasn't put a wheel wrong as far as I've seen thus far. Clear circuit. You can see a little bit of traffic maybe to deal with before the end of the race. He's very much on his way. Scott Bugner around about 3 seconds down in P2. Then Eric Axelson and Chris Blakey still there or thereabouts. We've got a possibility of a challenge on for third position. Adam Lyle is 5th from Andy Dorman, Josh Martin, Nathan Smith, Thomas Potter in 9th, Lee Pearson 10th. At the moment, Ogden and Brad Smith are the front row provisionally for race 2, as the race leader, he won't have any trouble dealing with the back marker car at all. Lovely driving, I've got to say. Moves over and the race leader is through safe and sound, and can't work out where he's on the track as to whether he's on the last lap or not.
Yeah, 29 seconds to go. He'll make it through with a decent margin, actually. And it goes to show just how much of a pleasant drive it's been out there for Joel Lask. He made the difference really at the start of this race. He made it in qualifying as well, and he was able to bring the car home in a nice controlled manner. Eric Axelson, though, won't be able to enjoy the same relief, really, as we have down the inside Chris Blakey. Can he make a move stick, or is it going to be a strong defence from Eric once again? I think it will be. Just left slightly under the width of a Leon Cupra, and there was no way Chris was going to get past there. Eric, keeping the momentum up through the mid-part of the corner, has saved his chance at the podium once again. Yeah,
Eric saving his own bacon there at the moment. Lee Pearcey's dropped out of the reverse grid frontage. So just as I wrote his name down on my bit of paper for the provisional grid for race 2, as they do, here is the race leader though. Joel Lasker looks like he's going to grab his first win of the campaign, the Mini Cup champion. That was, I think, 2 series ago with the Virtual Reality Racing Club, and crosses the line, takes the checker flag. Congratulations, Joel, on the win. Scott putting that in P2, and the battles rage a little bit further back, and Lyle having a look at Andy Dorman here. It's a sprint to the line. Who's going to get it? Well, it was Andy Dorman just by a shade from Adam Lyle, with Josh Martin 7th. Nathan Smith in 8th place takes the flag. Here comes Thomas Potter in 9th. Thomas will be towards the front for race 2. Johnny Ogden will be next. We saw Johnny in the late night coffee car coming through in 10th position. 11th was Brad Smith, who'll start on the outside of the front row, and Adam Carroll will start. Andy Carroll, sorry, I knew I'd get that wrong. Andy Carroll starts on pole position. So that's a race. We're going to round up our top 3 for you, and we'll have a few words with them in just a minute after this ad.
Well, race 1 did not disappoint there. Plenty of action, and some drivers who did well in qualifying and also have performed very well in the racing. So we go to our top 3 after race. And in 3rd position, it is Eric Axelson. Eric, we chatted after qualifying, and we chat again after the race, which means it's not all doom and gloom. P3 in the end, another podium to add to the tally. What are your thoughts after that race?
Yeah, I mean, I messed up the start a bit. So Scott managed to get ahead of me right away. And then, like, for the rest of the race, it felt like I was struggling a bit on pace. It felt like I was fighting the car a bit. So I'm not sure if that's due to the setup or what it is, but I need to find some more race pace if I want to keep up with Joel and Scott.
Do you think it could be tyres, perhaps, or were those issues fairly consistent from early on in race 1?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it happened. Like, yeah, I felt it more and more as the tires dropped off. So maybe it's something in my setup, you know, that's increasing the tire wear compared to Joel and Scott. I don't know. I might have a look at it now. Yeah, between the races, see if I can find anything.
We did see some great defensive driving from you, though. So you were certainly keeping yourself busy. Was it good fun out there at the end? Do you feel like you got a bit more kind of familiar with the track? Yeah,
I mean, I think the track is quite nice to race on. It's a bit like Brands's Indy. So it's super fast, and yeah, I think it's quite fine, quite fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we certainly enjoyed watching it as well. Some of it a little bit different, but it certainly provided us with plenty of action to talk about. And speaking of action, up next we do have the reverse grid race. So what are your feelings heading into that race, you're going to be obviously further down the order than perhaps you're used to. So any kind of differences in how you're thinking about going about that race?
I think, yeah, it will just be a train of cars, and I hope there's not any like major incidents ahead of me, and just you know, take it easy and find a good pace, and yeah, try to make it to the finish.
So is that your aim? Or there's no kind of position you got your sights set on? You're just hoping to bring it home.
Yeah, I mean, if I can make like a top 5, I'm happy.
Well, wishing you all the best for that then. Thank you very much, Eric. Hopefully speak to you later on. And now we move to a man in P2. Richard.
Thanks very much, Reeve. Well done, Scott. You said you didn't like this place, but second place must be a good result, therefore. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was it's a lot harder than you think. I know it's only a few corners, but the barriers. It reminds me of a bit like a mini Cadwell Park. It's like you do not want to make a mistake, because when you do, it's going to be a big one. But no, yeah, unfortunately for Eric, he kind of didn't get off the line very well, so I had to take that opportunity where I could. And by the time I defended for the little first 3 or 4 laps, Joel had already gone. But I was looking at our lap times, and we were pretty much identical, within, you know, a tenth of each other in every lap. So no, it was really good, and second place is good. And well, this second race, we know what it's like. It's a free for all, isn't it?
Absolutely right. I'll come back to the Cadwell Park sort of comparison in a minute, but both you and Eric are the only drivers at the moment in the series for this year to have 3 podiums on the bounce. So congratulations on doing that. Not an easy thing to do when you've got reverse races in the mix as well. Obviously, the reverse is going to be a little bit of a lottery, shall we say, and see how that goes. But yeah, going back to Cadwell Park, I was thinking originally, first part of the race, that bit where you're going uphill like Hilltop at Alton, and then when we saw the outfield shots that Rich, our director, gave us, I thought, yeah, the mountain. I was struggling to remember the name of the mountain at Cadwell, but it's very much like that, isn't it?
It is very much like that, yeah. I'm probably giving my missus PTSD because she sat next to me, and I took her around Cadwell Park a few months ago in my car, and she was screaming, bless her. But yeah, no, it's an okay track. Like, I think it's just really hard to overtake, and like I said, it's the same with Cadwell. It is really hard. If you can defend your line and stay in the middle of the track, you're kind of winning, really. But I think with this race, it's just going to be try and start the carnage and just get whatever points we can, because I think 4 podiums on the bounce is probably a tough ask. But if we can sort of get in the top sort of 12 or 10, I think I'll be quite happy with that and stay out of trouble, and probably just follow Eric for a little bit, because I know he's a nice, clean driver. So whatever he does, I'll just try and follow.
That's fair enough. And by the way, when you say your missus was screaming as she went around, was it screaming to go faster? Because that's what you get on the fairground rides. It
certainly wasn't screaming to go faster. I was quite slow for the first couple of laps, and then the third lap I went really quick going into the mountain, and she held on to my arm as I'm trying to turn left and then right, and it weren't the easiest thing to do. But yeah, no, she did say she'd do it again though, so I'd like to take her around somewhere like Brands Hatch or something.
Brands is a mega track. I've had some passenger rides are different to me to actually driving it, say on a track day, because you're not in control, are you? So have you done that? Have you been passengered by anyone?
I have, with my dad, and I was so scared. We did Snetterton, and I'm a really nervous passenger as it is, and my dad's going around Riches, and I'm going, geez, it's just like going on eggshells. But it's good fun. We all enjoy it. That's the main thing.
Well, that's great. Well, you've given us some great footage to watch anyway today. So well done on P2. Good luck for race 3, and hopefully we'll get to have another chat. Stay safe, mate. Keep it nice and clean. I'm sure everyone else will. Well done, Scott Bugner in P2.
Thank you.
We move on then to Joel Lascar, race 1 winner. Congratulations, Joel. Top step of the podium in race 1. You must be pleased with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it helped with Scott and Eric battling at the start. I managed to get a good beeline off from the get-go, and then yeah, from that point on, it was just managing the pace.
Yeah, it certainly looked easy, but from what I heard, you had perhaps it became a little bit less easy later on in the race. Was it perhaps at risk for a moment?
For a second, I thought I'd ended my race. No, the curbs are a little bit dicey, and some of the rumble strips as you go along, if you clip the back corner on the rumble strip, it spits the back end round, which it did do, and I was 90 degrees sideways with about 2 minutes left to go of the race. Managed to hold it, collected it on the grass, and got back going, but I lost about a second and a half to Scott doing that. So yeah, that was a little bit of a squeaky bum time there, but yeah, we still managed to pull it off.
Yeah, you certainly have pulled it off. A good return to the series. I've just refreshed my mind. I can't remember. Are you one of the drivers who says they don't like the track and then they're really quick at it? Because that's what we seem to have a lot so far this season. What are your thoughts on the track?
To be fair, I actually really enjoy this track. Scott's right, it is literally a little Brands Hatch Indy. It's just one of those tracks though where you make one little mistake and you can lose 5/10. That's the biggest thing. So, I haven't been in a position where I'm battling around here yet. And obviously reverse grid races, you never know what's going to happen. But I think it's just a case of keep it clean, try and pick the moment to get through the pack and see where we go from there.
Yeah, it will be a very different mindset heading into these second races. What are your aims for the reverse grid race this evening? Obviously, we've heard what Eric's aiming for. Are you aiming for something similar? Obviously, you'll be the furthest driver back of the reversed order, so it's going to be tough out there, isn't it?
I mean, to be fair, the pace is good. I'm normally quite all right with reverse grid races, and again, I don't want to jinx it, it's a touch wood. But I managed to find my way through somehow. But pole is where I'm after. I need the points at the end of the day, so yeah, we're looking for a win on this one.
Fighting talk, I like it, Joel. Congratulations once again on victory in race one. All the best for the second race coming up in just over a minute now. Got to chat with our three drivers on the top step again. They seem to be fairly confident heading in racing, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I'm going to have a word with Rich if we can get him on. What was the thing about the Colgate reference, if we've got time to do it? So I missed that. You were off.
We did, yeah. It's all right. And he replaced the processor on his computer, and you need to put something called thermal paste between the processor and the cooling vents. And Josh, in his infinite wisdom, decided to use Colgate toothpaste. It didn't work.
Oh. See, I'm surprised. Sometimes it can.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Sorry.
Dental stuff's a sore subject with me today. I'm flipping crowns because of fortune. Don't mention dentists. I hate them. No, I don't. They look after us. But 30 seconds to go for our reverse grid race, and it is Andy Carroll on pole position. Brad Smith will be alongside. A couple of bits of green behind them, Johnny Ogden and Thomas Potter. Let's see what Thomas can do after a little bit of a reset, hopefully for him. Maybe a chance to get up onto the podium. Nathan Smith and Josh Martin with a bit more green behind them. As we go lights out, let's see whether Andy Carroll can get into the lead down into turn one. P3 not as quick at the start of as we have P3 in race number one. So it's 1, 2 and 3 as they started, pretty much going into turns 1 and 2 at the moment, with Nathan Smith coming up and having a little bite. I think Nathan has made it up into 4th, but a decent start there.
Yeah, absolutely. Seems to be very clean. Perhaps my warnings earlier on of what could happen have been listened to. Not that anyone should really listen to me on advice for racing. It's a horrible idea. But we're on board at the moment with Johnny Ogden and Nathan Smith, Thomas Potter putting the pressure on as the back end steps out. And Johnny Ogden's car, one of that was a rumble strip like we were discussing in the post-race interviews there, or just the car being pushed a little bit too hard. Either way, it's brought Nathan and Thomas a little bit closer. Thomas darting across the circuit as he tries to find a way past Nathan here. This is Thomas trying to prove what he can really do here at Lime Rock Park. Obviously, race one, a bit of a race to forget. Time to recover here in race 2. Goes down to the inside. Can he go late on the brakes? No, he's going to have to back out of it there. No room as he continues on through the first corner.
Yeah, another one in the first corner. Do you know what? I was expecting the bum fight at turn 1. We didn't get that. And sometimes when you don't get it at turn 1, you get the melee at turn 2 or 3. They all seem to have settled down. They're maybe going to push the sort out to a couple of laps into the race, but it will be better. In theory, it should be less eventful if it does happen, because everybody's spread out a little bit. Still fairly frantic here in the mid-order. So we watched Joel Lass trying to make a little bit of progress through. Joe having a look at Lee Pearcey. Joel saying that he reckoned he could, that Wynn was the target from the back, which is pretty optimistic, but he's dropped back to 16th from the 12th position start that he had. So huge amount of work to do for Joel. And Lee Pearcey just showing you, same as everybody else, not an easy driver to be able to pick off. And Lee dipping down the inside here of Catherine Potter, who has a wee excursion, gets it back on track.
Yeah, not going to say a completely disastrous start for Joel Lask, but certainly not the start that he was picturing heading into this race. A little bit of contact showing up on this lap, as you mentioned, could happen, Richard. I was thinking, oh, we're not giving our drivers enough credit here. And I still think, you know, they've done a very respectable job. But as you say, later into the race, we're starting to perhaps see a little bit of contact here or there as the confidence level perhaps begins to creep in a little bit too much. I don't know. Either way, some good racing nonetheless.
Yeah, all good stuff. This is Eric Axelson into the top 10. Obviously started, he started 9th anyway, didn't he? So 10th place he started. So made up one position, and it's a real premium. We've said about Eric's style before, just to try and pick people off when he can. He's looking at Andy Dorman. A quick squeeze back to the top of the order, and Andy Carroll coming under pressure from Brad Smith. Let's see whether Brad can maybe haul in that 69 machine into P1. As we said, you know, whatever you get now, reverse grid wise, it's going to be strong at the front. It means it's going to be difficult for drivers to come through from P12 if they're on form, if they've got the car hooked up, which very clearly our race winners did through qualifying and race one. It's still not enough performance because of how close it was in testing and in qualifying. It's going to be very, very difficult. Every place gained is going to be a premium for those drivers. Craig Curtis in 10th, chasing Eric Axelson. Eric in turn looking to reduce the gap on Andy Dorman immediately in front. Haven't seen so much smoke since I watched the British Truck Championship a few years ago. Got to say, they don't do it now, of course, before we get the complaints, and the Smith family will be all over me on that one. Very definitely clean now. Watch their racing at the weekend, backpedaling now very quickly at Donington Park. There's hardly any smoke to be seen on British trucks now at all.
Perhaps a bit more smoke coming out of Reeves' car every now and again, I think, really, is probably the bigger environmental concern on that one.
Is that the one you sold or the new one?
Probably all of them, and both of them, and then the other one as well, really, if I'm honest. We're seeing a bit more smoke pluming out of Andy Carroll's car, though. It is tyre smoke. I should add these these Cupra Leon competitions are mighty fine vehicles, 335 horsepower on the tap from a 2-litre turbocharged engine, and it is rocketing these drivers down the circuit at the moment. The two orange cars leading this race, only 0.4 of a second separating them as we have a look at the action in the mid-pack as well. It's Nathan Smith on Adam Lyle. We've seen Nathan in race 1 and race 2 here. He's really hot on the overtaking action. He is absolutely going for it here. Hasn't always been able to make the move stick, but is certainly trying his best. Not too far behind him, Josh Martin and Andy Dorman. Good to see Josh Martin in between race 1 and race 2, actually complimenting on Andy Dorman on his racecraft there. Nathan Smith, that's going to be, yeah. The tyre wall careens him back into the path of the other cars on circuit. His car is looking very much worse for wear there.
Yeah, that was a ping that put him off, and you know, noises could be made about the rejoin, but he had no choice there.
Yeah,
so,
no, I don't think the rejoin was at all kind of his doing, really, was it?
No, not at all. No, not at all. So he will carry on. I was looking at the Nathan Smith and where we go, Adam Lyle thing. So Adam started a row behind Nathan Smith, has got ahead of him and made progress as we watch Josh Martin coming under a wee bit of pressure from Andy Dorman, who looks up the inside and is going to go through. I think it's impressed me so far is the room that everybody is giving each other. It's a tight track, it's difficult to give room, but the respect that I've seen over today, extremely commendable. That normally means that will go out of the window, having said it, but it's been all good so far.
Well, it sort of did, because I was saying about how Andy and Josh Martin were complimenting each other, and give each other respect for their excellent racing, how much they enjoyed it, and then we had Nathan having an unfortunate off there. So I do apologise, Nathan. That one is actually my fault. It's a 5-second penalty for me after the fact. If you're listening in, Rich. I don't know how that works actually. Does that just mean I have to? I'll just stay back an extra 5 seconds after the end of the stream.
Stay behind school. So Josh Martin busy chasing Eric Axelsen. Eric's obviously got ahead of him in terms of the race from starting position. So yeah, Eric doing what Eric does, which is that sort of slow, silent assassin job, isn't it? Through into 7th position. I think the silent assassin was actually coined in the mini championship we did in COVID by Anthony Williams. I didn't see Anthony at the weekend. I'm assuming he was up at Knockhill, but that was great fun commentating with him. Big slidey thing there, wasn't there?
Yeah,
Scott.
Yeah, Scott Bugner, who saw kind of soaring at the wheel there almost. The front axle was putting in a lot of work to try and keep the car pointing in the right direction. He was able to catch it though, so well done to him. Under pressure though from Josh Martin. As a result, it feels like the cars just look a little bit more energetic at this phase of the race compared to what we had in race 1. I wonder if everyone's pushing a little bit more perhaps in order to try and make up those all-important places. Eric Axelsen has certainly done a good job of that so far. Scott Bugner perhaps compromised a little bit by this lap, but otherwise done a good job. Joel Lask slowly but surely on the recovery as well. Josh Martin going for a bit of track which nearly didn't exist. He's made it work anyway. He's going to have the inside here. He's been given the room by Scott. They're side by side as we run through the first corner and into the left-hander. That is its real name. Pushing Josh as far as he dares, Scott as far as he dares, but he does manage to keep on side with him. It does Scott Bugner.
Yeah, great work of that aerial shot. Scott goes over the grass just a wee bit and doesn't lose him too much momentum. Still side by side with Josh Martin, who's got the run into the next corner. And Scott trying to get the position back all the time here. He's got more attention from behind, which ends in a great big tap on the back. The rear end goes and he loses 3-4 places. We've got Chris Blakey and Craig Curtis both go ahead of Scott Bugner. And it was really because he was close with Josh Smith and the others closed in. And bang, there was the contact, and there's your Monday night entertainment, Rich.
Yeah, I'm actually quite amazed by that, really, because when the camera panned away from Scott Bugner, he was parallel to all the other cars on track, and somehow he's only lost 4 places and he's carrying on. So good catch,
good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and Andy Carroll has conceded the lead there to Brad Smith, a move that has perhaps been threatened for a good 10 minutes now. It's finally taken place. Andy Carroll now 0.4 of a second down from Brad Smith. Now it's Andy Carroll's turn to be on the offensive. Here we go as we head down the start-finish straight once again. Thomas Potter, I should add, a driver who we discussed. Race 1 didn't go his way. Race 2 was his time to make amends for that, really, and he certainly has. He's running in P3 at the moment. Might have Andy Lyle for company, but other than that, is enjoying a much improved race, I think, in race 2.
Adam Lyle up from 6 on the grid, so he's made up a couple of positions. And remember, it's harder, the further you go up the order, it's harder to do that. But Thomas Potter, great to see him up on a potential podium. And also, good to see Brad Smith up in the race lead. So change of lead, always good for a reverse grid race. The man who won when I was working on the mini series a couple of championships ago, took a win at, if I remember correctly, thinking one was Anglesey, which was one that I did. Not dissimilar to this particular place, particularly with the gradient changes that you get. But we're looking at Joel Lask at the moment. Joel making really great progress, considering how he dropped in those opening laps. He's up into 9th place, so top 10, busy chasing Josh Martin at the moment. You'd say podium probably going to be out of reach for him. Certainly not the win, I don't think, that he was prophesying in the interviews in race 1, but we'll see how he goes. He's all over the back at the moment of Josh Martin in 8th place. And again, considering those problems, not that far away from Eric Axelsen, is he?
No, really not. It's been a very impressive recovery indeed for Joel Lask. I feared at the start of the race, when you see a driver drop back positions and maybe get involved squabbling, are you going to see the car picking up a bit more damage, the driver maybe losing a bit of confidence, and that could just be it for the race. That was all she wrote for the start of the race, really. But No, he seems to have got his head down as Joel Lask and is able to carry on. Is doing a very good job indeed. Adam Lyle takes the position from Thomas Potter in the end, but there's one thing we know that Thomas Potter can do. It's fight and fight for a very long time. So I do not think for a second that he is out of the mix here for a podium in this race.
No, very definitely. And do you know what? Over races 1 and 2, in the races we've seen Thomas, remember we didn't do Pascani because he was away jumping through mountains or wherever it was in Scotland. And Catherine had the car and got him half points. He's only been out of the top 10 once in 6 races. So it's another really good strong one. And you've got to consider that that's got the reverse grid element in it as well. So Thomas, very consistent, 4th place again. We're watching Joel Lask still chasing Josh Martin for 8th place. Eric Axelson still ahead of them. Josh Martin is proving to be a little bit of a thorn in the side of Joel Lask at the moment.
Absolutely. This is a fantastic battle from Josh Martin here. Great defensive drive. Perhaps he's been to the Eric Axelson School of Defensive Driving at Lime Rock, or have I spoken too soon because the door was left open as we headed into the first corner there. Joel Lask takes the position, although I don't think it's going to be without a fight. And now we have Joel Lask against Eric Axelson potentially as well. If we have a look at their times at the moment, on the previous lap, Joel Lask 52.5, Eric Axelson at 53. So I'm not sure if Eric had an issue on the previous lap or whether he's been pushing on those tyres and they're starting to give in. Either way, I think we're going to be in for a good fight here between 2 front runners in our championship.
Yeah, all good stuff between those guys. Smith, Carroll and Adam Lyle is your podium at the minute, with Thomas Potter still in 4th, Johnny Ogden in 5th place with just over the last 10 minutes of this one to go. And let's have a quick look down the order. Olivia Krosnevska in
Nathan Smith's had a
13th.
big...
Yeah,
Nathan Smith's in the pits.
He is.
That's a shame. He was although perhaps unexpected, perhaps slightly expected, he had some very strong drives earlier on, obviously in the race weekend and as well in this race, but had that early incident. I suspect he was probably limping the car home, or at least attempting to, and it's just, I imagine, it's got to a point where it's safe to bring the car in.
Yeah, sound stuff from him as we watch Adam Carroll chasing Brad Smith. Carroll running a little bit wide there, drop back to look at Andy Dorman chasing Johnny Ogden. So Johnny, this is for 5th and 6th position. Let's see what Andy Dorman can do. Can he get close enough on the home straight? They'll go under the bridge. Not close enough to make a move, so still working on his lines to try and close in another 50 seconds or thereabouts. He might get to have another stab if he can build his momentum up. No, he's going to have a go now. Looks down the inside as they go through the left-hander, through the second part of the S's into the right-hander now. Along the Paul Newman straight in towards uphill. Great battle between these guys. And Andy Dorman, remember, who had the win in the reverse grid race at Pascani. Eric Axelson winning the first race there. We're on a little bit of an Axelson win drought, aren't we, at the moment?
Seemingly so. It is only the second round. But you know, I think that he just did such an impressive job at the start of the season, where you can have one or 2 off days, and all of a sudden it's is Eric Axelson past his best? Obviously, very much not the case. He's a seriously impressive driver. He provides hot laps for us. He certainly knows his way around a race car. As there's contact there between Andy Dorman and Johnny Ogden, and no major ill effects from it. Fortunately, I like as well when we've got the throttle trace in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen there. You can see where the driver's going, oh, this is going a bit wrong, because the throttle is all over the shop. But luckily, they're both able to carry on. Yes.
Yeah, lovely scrap, isn't it, between these guys, for sure. So, Andy Dorman, the chaser at the moment. This is for P5, which will be Andy's best result since his second win. Barcelona, and here we go side by side. Is he going to be able to get the run round into turn 1? He's on the outside run, actually seeds it, so he might go for a wee bit more speed to try and get the second part of the double apex. Now he's too far back at the moment, so we're in a new battle. 3-car squabble going on behind with Axelson, Martin and Lass. Josh Martin
the back
momentarily getting back ahead of Joel Last, but has a big slide on, and that drops him back. But he was momentarily ahead of Joel Last there, hasn't given up the ghost. And really, I guess, I'm not saying he's slower than Joel Last and Eric Axelson, but the fact that those two are battling certainly will help a little bit the cause of Josh Martin, who could well get involved. But Eric Axelson here, two real class acts here. Joel Last, race winners in this series, battling it out hard. And let's see what Joel Last has to do. A little tiny little tap on the back end there, and doesn't dishevel Eric Axelson too much. Eric hangs on to it. Josh Martin comes up to play again. Last goes to the outside, side by side, little kiss of the cuddle there as he goes into turn one. That leaves the door open for Josh Martin to go through. Martin makes the move successfully.
Fantastic bit of elbows out action here. It's really getting a high intensity now between these drivers as they fight for the final few minutes in this evening of racing. I'm just amazed at the amount of oversteer action we've seen. Has anyone checked that the 135i chassis haven't gone missing, and someone's been a bit busy with an angle grinder, because there's some fantastic drifting. If we had a drifting championship for this round, I think it'd be Josh leading. I think it would.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. He's the drifter at the minute. Meanwhile, it is Eric Axelson who gets a little bit of respite, as Joel Last, who did all the work before to go past, has to repeat the move. Just turns in there, a little bit of a nudge maybe on the front right of his car, on the left of Josh Martin's machine. Eric Axelson now closing down on Johnny Ogden and Andy Dorman. So whether those two are slowing each other up or not, I don't know. Keep your eyes on Joel Last here. I've got a feeling now we're getting into traffic, Joel might be able to nip past. This is when you tend to see the changes that go through the uphill section. We'll call it the mountain, as nobody else does, I don't think, in the States. I'm surprised Yanks have nicked a lot of us off of us over the years, but they haven't nicked too many corner names. As we look back from Axelson, he's got a small chopper.
I'm impressed. I'm just going to say it's taken an hour and a half into the stream before a proper joke about the Americans, so we've done well. Yeah, this is a fantastic bit of driving going on from all the cars in green and the cars in white and orange behind as well. They're all separated out by colour actually as well. They've good coordination there from everyone as we run down towards the back end of the circuit once again. Eric Axelson, Joel Last were on such a charge early on in this race, but they've come a cropper with some fantastic midfield drivers here in this race. Eric Axelson perhaps a little bit wide on the exit of the final corner. That allows Joel Last right on through. It's looking a little bit tetchy as we head into the first corner once again, because there's about 12,000 cars heading into the first corner. This is fantastic stuff.
Yeah, all good start. Still 5 minutes to go here, so Last is still working hard. He's still got Josh Martin in front of him. He's thinking, how with all the passing? I've passed him once, he'd nipped past me again. Opportunistic moment. Last goes on the grass. That could get Eric Axelson back up the inside. Eric perhaps not close enough to make that one stick. It's still Smith, Lyle and Carroll out front with Thomas Potter in P4. Adam Lyle closing in. We could have a battle for the lead here again very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Quietly, this has been kind of going on in the background, ruminating. Not been the Joel Last easy victory that we saw in race one. Adam Lyle is now going to be the man charging for that top spot of the podium as we exit and head down towards the S's now. Joel Last, Josh Martin coming up on our screen to the left hand side of my desk, saying that they're having a little bit of a close battle. We go on board with Scott Bugner. Scott Bugner, of course, has had many triumphs. Oh, that is in the background there. Is that Joel Last? It is Joel sliding around as we are able to continue on with him, luckily, but it looks like there's side-by-side action behind them as well. Chris Blakey and Craig Curtis also absolutely gunning for it at the final part of this race. It is very much all to play for at this point, as we have a little bit of a teleportation going on. I don't think, though, that is going to detract from just how close the action is here as we enter the final few minutes of this race.
All tough stuff, isn't it? Great racing. 3 minutes 35 to go. It's Smith, Lyle and Carroll out front. Andy Dorman has come up into 4th position now ahead of Thomas Potter. Dorman, the double race 2 winner in our first 2 events of the season. Looking pretty good, not that far away from a podium at the moment, although he's still got Thomas Potter behind him, and it'll be Potter closer to him than Dorman is to actually 3rd place away down the road, aren't they? Andy Carroll done it again, is well clear of the 4th position battle. So that's probably as good as it's going to get for Andy Dorman. Josh Martin still there. Scott Bugner up ahead of him with a little bit of breathing space at the moment for Scott Bugner, who's done well to come through from, he said a 4th podium on the bounce was going to be a little bit tricky for him around here. And I think the reverse grid has been a big ask for the drivers that did so well in race number 1. Are we going to see Joel have a go here? Looks to the outside now. Read that very well indeed. Slots through on the inside. 2 places for the price of 1 from Joel Lask. The race 1 winner from 12th now at the start. Dropped back well below 12th position. Is now up into P7.
Yeah, this midfield action is it's a non-stop really in this race, and it has been a blessing for some. I think the likes of Andy Dorman and Adam Lyle have obviously benefited rather well from it, but it has been a bit of a curse for others. Eric Axelson has made a strong recovery in the end and is up into P6. Let's not forget he started quite far back down the order, but Joel Lask, we knew heading into this race, wanted a little bit more from this race. He felt confident in his driving, he felt confident in the kart and track combination, but unfortunately, I'm going to say only P7. Let's not forget he started way further down than that, but he feels like there could have been more on the table, and it's probably contributing to why it's also feisty here at the final part of this race.
Yeah, it is. Axelson now all over the back of Thomas Potter to try and challenge for 5th place. Joel Lask, I'll tell you what, he's not out of the mix here as well with 123 on the clock, and he's done very well at sneaking through when things get a little bit muddled up ahead of him. I don't expect that Eric and Thomas are going to get muddled up because they're not that sort of driver, to be perfectly fair, but you never know. With around about a minute to go, Lyle Smith and Carroll still as you were out front, as Thomas
Joel
Potter.
Lask.
Yep.
Yep, Joel Lask down the inside there. They are side by side as we run through the final corner. You can't see him on screen, but there they are. Brilliant aerial shot. Surprise, it's Joel Lask. As we run into that first corner, these two have got quite a lot of pace as we run into that first corner. I worried for a second that Thomas Potter, minding his own business out in front, might have become involved in an incident he had no involvement in at all, really, but everyone has made it through the first couple of corners cleanly. 35 seconds left on the clock and 5 cars now fighting for P5. This is very close stuff indeed.
Yeah, Joel Lask's going to go through, and Thomas Potter, there was a couple of little nibbles on the rear end of Thomas Potter's car, and that was maybe just enough to give him the heebie-jeebies on that lap and maybe put a little bit of nerves into his driving, but Lask has gone through into 5th position. Then it's Eric Axelson, Josh Martin next up, Thomas Potter down in 8th with losing out there with a lap and a bit to go. As we go back to it's Adam Lyle now showing in front, so it's Lyle the race leader, unless that's a glitch. Let's have a quick look. Adam Lyle comes through and it's the race leader. He is through. Adam Lyle. Yeah,
slowly but surely he worked his way up through the field there, as Andy Carroll and Brad Smith looked like they were beginning to falter ever so slightly. Adam Lyle's car was looking really strong through the rest of this race. These two fighting for the win at one point, now fighting for P2 and P3.
Yeah, those guys, the last lap for here, but Adam Lyle looking for his first win in this. He won in the last VRRC series, BMW Assen, and we'll go across the line to take the checkered flag. So congratulations to Adam Lyle, takes the win. Brad Smith in second. Andy Carroll next up from Andy Dorman. Joel Lask in 5th. Eric Axelson 6th from Josh Martin. Thomas Potter will be a little bit aggrieved, I think. Disappointment for Thomas, having raced, but a couple of nibbles on the back. Lost the positions there down in 8th. Chris Blakey 9th from Scott Bugner in 10th. Craig Curtis 11th. Olivia Krasnowska in 12th place from John Jones in 13th. Then it was Alex Walker, Catherine Potter 15th, Johnny Ogden and Lee Piercy next up, concluding our second race of the evening and concluding our racing here at Lime Rock. We'll have a word with our top three after this word from AGON G4.
Job.
Well done, Andy.
Yeah, no, it's a good race, mate. Well
So
done.
let's crack on with our race podium and starting off the front row on the reverse grid race. So cracking little race that between you guys.
Yeah, it was a good battle between Brad and I there. I was quicker in a few places, quicker, I think, coming out that last corner, which is obviously the critical one. But yeah, sort of a gap would go up a little bit, then come back down, and yeah, eventually just a little bit too much pace in that sort of middle half of the race. And then yeah, I just saw Adam sort of thundering up to the back of us with incredibly strong pace. And then yeah, sort of yeah, wasn't much I could do to sort of keep him behind me, so I thought I'd sort of let him go and see if he can sort of unsettle Brad a bit, and hopefully, you know, something happened and I could capitalise on it. But no, he was good driving, good racing with everyone. Really fun race. Yeah, certainly not my favourite track, but in these cars anyway. But no, it's good fun.
What would be a good car for around here? For you?
Rear-wheel drive, I think.
Yeah.
Not sure front-wheel drive is it's great around here, but.
And you've sort of bookended podiums the last couple of meetings. Obviously, Nurburgring, you're on the podium race one, and you know, take another podium as we head to Laguna Seca. So not a bad couple of meetings, really.
No, it's get in there. It's obviously, you know, I was just managed to sneak into the top 12 to get the pole for the second race, which was lucky. I think Lee had an incident which dropped him out right towards the end. So yeah, otherwise I would have been starting back in 13th. So yeah, got a bit lucky there, but yeah, got to try and capitalise on these things when you get them.
Yeah. We were talking about the tactics for that. If you were obviously if you're in 13th place, you're always going to gun to get higher up anyway. But if you were, I don't know, is there a mindset ever where if you're kind of 8th or 9th, you might drop back to get on the front row on a track like this where it's difficult to overtake?
For me personally, no.
Yeah.
I'd rather take the extra points that 8th has over, or 8th or 9th has over 12th, and then yeah, race 2 you just never know, what's going to happen anyway. So yeah, I think you just got to try and grab as many points as you can when they're there.
Well, that's good. Well, great to have you on the podium. Well done. Good luck for next week. Hopefully we'll catch you on the podium again there, either in qualifying or the races. Andy Carroll, P3, well done.
Thank you.
Second place interview. Let's hand over to Reeve.
And it is Brad Smith, second place after a fairly busy race for you, wasn't it, Brad? We saw plenty of action in the midfield, but at the top end there, it was still action of plenty as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was I think it was a case of me and Andy were fighting from the start for the first 20 minutes, and then Adam crept up in the last 5, had better tyres. Otherwise, it could have been a different outcome.
Do you think there was anything you could have done differently to maybe make that a different outcome, or it was just luck of the draw, really, that Adam was able to bring the car home a little bit cleaner, perhaps, and you guys were just enjoying the battle too much?
Yeah, I think it was a case of we were enjoying the battle, and Adam had a nice clean run all the way through, by the sounds of it. So yeah, it was just pot luck.
Start of the race then. Was it the launch? Did that play a part in the overall position in the end?
No, I wouldn't say so. I didn't gain anything on Andy. I stayed behind him from the start, so it was just I'm quite good off the start in any car. I don't know why, but I seem to always get off the line well. Just the rest of the race I need to sort out now.
So you do add another podium to your tally, of course, after this race. So the track then, you must be thinking, has been pretty good to you in the end.
No, I've hated every minute of it. I didn't manage to get in the 51s. Yeah, I didn't manage to get in the 51s until like 5 minutes before quali. And then I didn't manage to get my best time in quali. I was about a tenth and a half off, which would have probably put me like P3. So, and then had a bit of a mishap with a teammate in the first race, which put me at the back. And had to work my way forward again. But it's racing, so on to next week.
Was that just down to maybe were things not gelling in practice, or do you feel like you found a little bit of time at the very last moment in qualifying that made the difference?
I just couldn't get the hang of the first sector. Second and third sector, I was fine. I was matching everyone else's times. That was like first and second, top 5. I was matching their sector times, but I was like 4 attempts off in the first sector. And I just couldn't get it hooked up.
Well, at least, I suppose you say you struggles, you don't enjoy the track, but it's still a pretty good result nonetheless. And you mentioned next week. Next week we are at Laguna Seca, another American venue. What are your thoughts on that track?
I'll have to go around the track to find out if I've been on it before or not. I've got a really good memory like that.
Corkscrew, big drop in the middle of the track.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that with Rich before. Yeah, it's a good track. I think I done quite well there last time. So if Rich can remember back to the MX-5, I think it was the finals we done there in the MX-5s.
I can't remember last week, Brad. Never mind then.
But yeah, I've done well on the track before, so hopefully it can carry on.
Yeah, good form at the end of this race weekend. As you say, hopefully it carries on into the next one. Thank you for your time, Brad. Enjoy P2.
Thank you very much.
Time for a word with the winner, which is Adam Lyle. Takes a 6th position in race number 1 and a win, believe it or not, our 7th different winner in 10 races in this series. That's how competitive it's been. Adam, super job, mate. Well done. You were on the 4th row of the grid, so never easy, is it? Particularly around here. How pleased are you with your performance?
Very. That was probably the hardest race I've done, I think.
Right. And what was what? Give us some key moments.
A little bit of door banging with Nathan at the start. I could just see Brad and Andy pulling away with Johnny and Thomas, and I thought, that's it, gone. Because I knew he had all right race pace. Oh, here we go, and yeah, just slowly picked him off.
The timing was pretty good as well, wasn't it? It wasn't sort of a last minute. You got there, had a little bit of time to settle into the lead, and you're settling in nicely to the championship as well. Decent night of sport for you.
Yeah, decent bit of ballast as well next tweet then.
Drivers say that. How much adjusting is there? Because obviously, yeah, you get the extra ballast, but you're going on to a different circuit. Do you run that circuit without the ballast first to see how it's going to affect it, or do you just go in with all of the lead in there?
Well, until yesterday morning, I was actually running a couple of kilo more on this track, and I was faster. I actually
Really?
lost time dropping a bit of weight, so I'm hoping the same works at Laguna, gaining a bit more now.
No, but have you raced there before? We were chatting to
Yeah, I love that
Brad.
track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In front wheel drive?
Well,
Right.
it'd be better in rear, but we'll give it a go.
No, that's good. Well, many congratulations. It was really good race. Very well timed, very well executed. So, top job, mate. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. Can I just give a shout out to Florence
Of course.
as well? My #1 fan watches every week, cheering me on. So that's for you.
Yeah. Well done, mate. And thanks, Florence, for watching that as well. I think we've got one more thing to announce. I'm going to let Reeve do our driver of the round.
We do indeed, and it is our driver of the round, and that driver of the round is Andy Carroll. We saw some fantastic battling throughout the weekend, really, from Andy Carroll. He was right in the mix there on many occasions. So Andy, talk us through what has been a pretty good weekend for you.
Yeah, thanks. That was first race. As I say, it was made up a few positions, dropped a few positions. Right, had an awful start, dropped a few positions, made up a couple of people sort of ended up spinning out. So I think I was up into sort of 9th, and then someone sort of happened behind me, and I got tagged as a result of that. So I ended up back down, I think, in about 18th. So yeah, managed to battle my way back up in just sneaked into the top 12 at the very end of race 1, and then that obviously put me in a really strong position for the second race, and wasn't able to quite hold on for the win, but podium in this championship is always a hell of an achievement, I think. And
you'll learn that more than anyone, of course, our resident stats man there with all of your wisdom. So after a good race weekend here, I've called it a race weekend like 3 times now. I'm just going to go with it at this point, Richard. I'm sorry. Next week we are, of course, at Laguna. Seca, what are your thoughts about that venue?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one in these cars. Stuff and stuff. It's difficult to quite know whether it's going to be a good track or not. Obviously, the track itself is a great track, but we'll have to see how we can get around these cars there. Could be another one that's also difficult to overtake as well. Yeah, it's into the sort of first hairpin, but after that, I think it's quite difficult to kind of sort of pass anywhere. So could be another difficult one to try and make places up.
Time will tell. Thank you very much, though, Andy, for chatting with us. You are driver of the day after your performance, so well done on that as well.
Thank you, guys.
Well done, Andy. Well done, Reeve. Here we go. Here's a preview of next week's circuits. As Reeve said on the introduction, we're sort of staying on our little American tour. I'm really looking forward to it. It's not a funny story. I was talking about Bobby Rahal last night to do a bit of name dropping. I'll maybe tell you the story next week because it'll be relevant to running along that particular straight. But another great circuit. I've not commentated on anything Laguna Seca. I did some remotely a while ago with electric bike racing when it was just beginning. I can't remember the name of the series, but it must be getting on for about 10 years ago now. It was a very weird series, enjoyable to watch, with all these American guys building electric bikes in their backyards. And then the Chinese came over and took over. Zhongshen came over and took over. That's another story as well. We look forward to your company there. Reeve, it's been a good evening again, hasn't it?
Maybe not quite as strong. To have just given driver of the round to the wrong driver. Very much like to apologise for that blunder on my behalf. I saw the first name and read it out. So it's been a good evening for the driver. It's been a good evening of racing, but on my half, perhaps not so much.
It's been great. You've been brilliant, mate. It's always a pleasure. Always been a super evening. So worry not, mate. There's plenty more mistakes in your career to come, as I do every week, without failure, as people who watch my rubbish will know. Thanks for joining me, mate. It's been a pleasure again. Thanks everyone joining us as well. The championship top three, Adam Lyle third, Scott Bugner is still in second. The gap's gone out a little bit now, 6 points to Eric Axelson, who maintains the championship lead. Be nice to each other. Have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye for now. Take care.
Bye.
The inside of Coates. Marcus gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates.